Welcome back, Coinology. Imagine holding a tiny copper-colored coin in your hand, a coin so common that billions of people barely notice it when it sits quietly in their pockets, jars, drawers, or old piggy banks. For most people, a 1-cent coin is almost meaningless, something easily ignored, something that might even be thrown aside without a second thought. Yet hidden within the ordinary world of pocket change, there exists a fascinating story that turns a simple penny into something mysterious, historical, and sometimes incredibly valuable. Today we are exploring one of those stories, the story of the 1992 1-cent coin, a coin that at first glance looks exactly like millions of other pennies but can sometimes hide a rare feature that collectors around the world search for with excitement and determination. The year 1992 may not seem special at first, but within the world of coin collecting it carries a certain level of intrigue. In that year, the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies, continuing a tradition that had already lasted for more than 8 decades. The Lincoln cent itself first appeared in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, becoming the first circulating American coin to feature a real historical person instead of symbolic figures. For generations of Americans and collectors around the world, the Lincoln penny has represented history, culture, and everyday life. The 1992 penny belongs to a specific design era known as the Lincoln Memorial Reverse design. On the front of the coin, also called the obverse, you will see the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing to the right. Above his head is the word liberty, while the phrase "In God We Trust" appears along the top edge of the coin. The year 1992 is stamped just in front of Lincoln's portrait, marking the moment in time when that particular coin was struck. If the coin was minted in Denver, you will see a small letter D below the date, representing the Denver Mint. Coins made in Philadelphia usually do not have a mint mark for that year, which can sometimes make them appear even more ordinary to casual observers. On the back of the coin, known as the reverse side, the design shows the Lincoln Memorial Building in Washington, D.C. Inside the tiny structure you can actually see a small image of the Lincoln statue sitting in the center of the memorial, a remarkable detail considering the small size of the coin itself. Above the building is the phrase United States of America, and below it appears the denomination 1 cent. Between the two phrases you will also see the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, a phrase that represents the unity of the United States. From a physical perspective, the 1992 penny is made primarily from zinc with a thin copper coating. This composition was introduced in 1982 when rising copper prices forced the United States Mint to change the metal content of the penny. As a result, the coin weighs approximately 2.5 grams and has a diameter of about 19 millimeters, with a smooth edge and a shiny copper appearance when new. For most people, a 1992 penny is worth exactly what it says on the coin. 1-cent billions were produced during that year, and they circulated widely throughout the United States and beyond. But as collectors know, the value of a coin is not always determined by its face value. Sometimes small variations, minting errors, or unusual features can transform an ordinary coin into a rare collectible worth far more than anyone would expect. One of the most famous and intriguing features associated with the 1992 penny is something known as the close AM variety. This tiny difference appears on the reverse side of the coin in the word America. On most 1992 pennies, the letters A and M and the word America have a noticeable gap between them. This normal spacing is known as the white AM design. However, on a very small number of coins produced in 1992, the letters A and M appear extremely close together, almost touching. This unusual spacing is what collectors call the close AM variety. The reason this happened is connected to the way coin dies are prepared and used in the minting process. When coins are produced, large metal presses strike blank coin planchets using engraved dies that contain the coin's design. Sometimes, during transitions between design years, dies intended for the next year's coins accidentally get used earlier than planned. In the case of the 1992 penny, some dies that were meant for the 1993 design ended up being used during the 1992 production process. As a result, a small number of 1992 pennies were struck with the design that normally belonged to the following year. This accidental mixture of designs created one of the most famous modern penny varieties in coin collecting. Because only a tiny number of these close AM coins were produced, they became extremely rare once collectors discovered them. Over time, as more people learned about the variety, the hunt for the 1992 close AM penny became almost legendary among coin collectors. Imagine searching through thousands of pennies, examining each one carefully under bright light or with a magnifying glass, hoping to discover that tiny difference between the letters A and M. To the untrained eye, the difference might seem almost invisible, but to collectors it represents the possibility of finding a hidden treasure in ordinary pocket change. In fact, some of these rare coins have sold for impressive amounts at auctions in coin markets. High-grade examples of the 1992 Close AM penny have reached prices of tens of thousands of dollars depending on their condition and rarity. When a coin is in excellent condition with its original red copper color preserved, collectors are often willing to pay even higher prices because such coins are extremely difficult to find. The condition of a coin plays a huge role in determining its value. Coin collectors use a grading scale that ranges from poor condition to perfect mint state. Coins that show heavy wear from circulation are usually worth far less than coins that remain sharp, shiny, and well preserved. When a rare variety like the 1992 Close AM appears in near perfect condition, its value can increase dramatically. Another interesting detail about these rare coins is how few have actually been discovered. Experts believe that only a handful of genuine 1992 Close AM pennies exist compared to the billions of normal pennies produced that year. This rarity makes them especially exciting for collectors, because the chance of finding one in everyday circulation is incredibly small but still possible. Stories occasionally appear online from people who claim they discovered rare pennies while searching through jars of spare change or inherited coin collections. Sometimes these stories turn out to be misunderstandings, but every once in a while someone really does discover a rare coin hiding in plain sight. This possibility is what keeps the excitement alive in the world of coin collecting. A simple penny, something many people ignore every day, could potentially hold a hidden secret that turns it into a collector's prize, and that is exactly why the 1992 penny has become such a fascinating topic. It represents the idea that history, rarity, and value can exist within the smallest and most ordinary objects. If you look carefully at a handful of pennies right now, you might see dates ranging from the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, and beyond. Each one represents a different moment in time, a different story within the long history of American currency. Among those coins, the 1992 penny stands quietly waiting to reveal whether it is just another ordinary cent or something much more extraordinary for collectors. The thrill of this possibility is what makes coin hunting so addictive. Every coin becomes a mystery waiting to be solved, every data clue that might lead to something rare and valuable, and somewhere out there, perhaps sitting unnoticed in a jar of loose change, a genuine 1992 Close AM penny might still be waiting to be discovered. And as the story of the 1992 penny continues, the mystery surrounding this simple coin becomes even more fascinating the deeper collectors look into it. Imagine someone sitting at a table late at night with a small lamp shining directly onto hundreds of pennies spread across the surface. Each coin is slowly turned over, examined carefully, sometimes with a magnifying glass, sometimes with a jeweler's loupe, and sometimes even with a microscope. To an outsider, this activity might seem strange or even boring, but to a passionate coin collector, this is a moment filled with excitement and anticipation, because the next coin in the pile might be the one that changes everything. The 1992 penny became famous in the coin collecting world largely because of how unexpected its rare variety was when it was first discovered. For many years after the coins were minted, people had no idea that such a rare design difference even existed. Pennies circulated through stores, banks, vending machines, and pocket change jars without anyone paying close attention to the spacing of the letters in the word America. The coins traveled through millions of hands, quietly moving through the economy, never revealing their secret to the people who used them every day. Eventually, however, sharp-eyed collectors began noticing that a few coins looked slightly different. The letters A and M in America seemed unusually close together compared to other pennies from the same year. At first, the difference seemed so small that many people assumed it was simply a minor variation caused by wear or minting pressure. But as more collectors compared coins side by side, they realized that the difference was consistent on certain coins and clearly distinct from the normal design. This discovery sparked curiosity throughout the coin collecting community. Experts began examining mint records, studying die designs, and comparing coins from different years to understand how this unusual variety appeared. Their research eventually revealed that the Close AM design was actually intended for the following year's penny, which meant that some of the dies created for the 1993 coins were accidentally used in 1992. Because coin dies are produced in limited numbers and used repeatedly until they wear out, only a very small number of coins could have been struck with the incorrect design before the mistake was noticed or the dies were replaced. This meant that the total number of 1992 Close AM pennies in existence was extremely small compared to the billions of normal pennies produced that year. Once collectors realized how rare these coins were, interest grew rapidly. People began searching through jars of spare change, rolls of pennies from banks, and old coin collections inherited from family members. The possibility that a valuable coin could be hiding in ordinary pocket change created a wave of excitement that spread through the hobby. Some collectors spent hours searching through thousands of pennies hoping to find the rare variety. Others purchased large bags of coins from banks just for the chance to examine them. Coin shops and dealers also began checking their inventory more carefully, looking for the tiny spacing difference that could transform a 1-cent coin into something worth thousands of dollars. Stories began appearing in coin collecting magazines and online forums describing lucky discoveries. In some cases, collectors found a rare close AM penny in rolls of coins obtained directly from banks. In other cases, the coins were discovered in old collections that had been sitting untouched for years. Each new discovery added to the legend of the 1992 penny and encouraged more people to join the search. The condition of these rare coins became another important factor in determining their value. A coin that has circulated heavily for many years may show scratches, dull surfaces, and worn details. While such a coin might still be rare, collectors usually prefer coins that remain in excellent condition because they preserve the original design more clearly. Coins that appear bright, shiny, and nearly untouched are often described as mint-state coins. These coins may have never entered circulation and sometimes come directly from original mint rolls or collector sets. When a rare variety like the 1992 close AM penny appears in mint-state condition, its value can increase dramatically because collectors know that very few examples exist in such pristine form. Professional coin grading services also play an important role in the world of rare coins. When a valuable coin is discovered, collectors often send it to professional grading companies where experts carefully examine the coin to confirm its authenticity and condition. The coin is then sealed inside a protective plastic holder with an official label describing the coin and its grade. This process not only protects the coin from damage but also helps buyers and sellers trust that the coin is genuine. Because rare coins can sometimes be worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, collectors rely on professional grading services to ensure that the coins they purchase are authentic. The market value of rare coins can also change over time depending on collector demand, auction results, and overall interest in the hobby. When a rare coin appears at auction and sells for a high price, it often attracts attention from collectors and investors who begin searching for similar coins to. In the case of the 1992 close AM penny, auction sales have occasionally reached impressive numbers, especially for coins that are in exceptional condition. These sales create headlines in coin collecting communities and sometimes even attract attention from mainstream media, reminding people that valuable treasures can sometimes be hiding in everyday objects. Despite the excitement surrounding rare varieties, it is important to remember that most 1992 pennies are still very common. The United States Mint produced billions of them, and the vast majority have the normal white AM design. For someone searching through pocket change, the chances of finding the rare close AM version are extremely small. However, the possibility still exists, and that possibility is what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Every coin tells a story, and sometimes that story includes unexpected mistakes, rare variations, and surprising value. Even today, decades after the coins were minted, collectors continue to examine pennies carefully, hoping to discover something unusual. Some people enjoy the hobby purely for the thrill of the search, while others hope that one day they might uncover a rare coin that changes their financial future. The 1992 penny reminds us that value is not always obvious at first glance. Something small, simple, and easily overlooked can sometimes carry hidden importance. In a world where people often focus only on large and expensive things, the story of a tiny 1-cent coin proves that even the smallest objects can hold remarkable stories. Somewhere, perhaps in a jar of spare change sitting quietly on a kitchen shelf, there may still be a coin waiting to be noticed. A coin that has passed through hundreds of hands without anyone realizing its potential. A coin that could be part of the rare 1992 close AM variety. As the fascination with the 1992 penny continued to grow among collectors, many people began asking an important question. How could such a tiny difference in the spacing of two letters turn a common coin into something potentially worth thousands of dollars? The answer lies in the complex and fascinating process that takes place inside a mint facility where coins are produced. Every coin begins its life as a blank metal disc known as a planchet. These small discs are carefully manufactured to the correct diameter and thickness before they ever reach the coin presses. For the 1992 1-cent coin, these planchets were made primarily of zinc with a thin outer coating of copper, giving the coin its familiar reddish appearance. Each planchet weighed about 2.5 grams and was designed to meet precise standards so that every coin would look and feel the same. Once the planchets were prepared, they were fed into powerful coining presses capable of striking coins at extremely high speeds. Each press used two metal dies engraved with the coin's design. One die carried the design for the front of the coin, including Abraham Lincoln's portrait, while the other die carried the reverse design featuring the Lincoln Memorial. When a planchet was placed between the dies, the press struck it with tremendous pressure, forcing the metal into every tiny detail of the design. In a fraction of a second, a blank piece of metal became a fully formed coin ready to enter circulation. However, even in highly controlled minting environments, small mistakes can sometimes occur. Dies can be switched accidentally, reused longer than intended, or replaced at the wrong time during design transitions. These small production irregularities occasionally create rare varieties that collectors later discover. The close AM variety of the 1992 penny is believed to be one of these accidental outcomes. During the preparation of dies for the following year's coins, a die intended for the 1993 reverse design appears to have been used briefly during the 1992 production process. Because the spacing of the letters in America was slightly different on the 1993 design, the coin struck with that die ended up displaying the unusual close AM appearance. At the time the coins were produced, this difference was so small that it likely went completely unnoticed by mint workers. The presses continued striking coins as usual, sending thousands or even millions of pennies into circulation without anyone realizing that a rare variety had been created years later. When collectors finally recognized the difference, it transformed what had once been a simple minting oversight into one of the most talked about modern penny varieties. The excitement surrounding the discovery quickly spread among coin collectors. Articles were written in hobby magazines explaining how to identify the close AM design. Online forums filled with discussions where collectors compared photographs and shared tips for spotting the rare spacing between the letters. Soon many collectors were searching through rolls of pennies obtained from banks. These rolls often contained 50 coins each, and determined collectors sometimes examined hundreds or even thousands of rolls hoping to find a single rare example. The process required patience, concentration, and sometimes a bit of luck. Some collectors even developed routines for their searches. They would spread the coins across a flat surface, separate them by year, and then inspect each 1992 penny carefully. A small magnifying glass or coin loop made it easier to examine the letters in America and determine whether the coin showed the wide AM or the elusive close AM variety. The thrill of possibly finding such a coin kept collectors motivated even when hours of searching produced no results. The hobby became a kind of treasure hunt where the treasure might appear at any moment. Occasionally someone did discover one of these rare coins. When that happened, the excitement was enormous. The collector would often take clear photographs of the coin and share them online or show them to experienced numismatists for confirmation. If experts confirmed that the coin was indeed a genuine 1992 close AM penny, the next step was usually to send it to a professional grading service. These organizations specialize in examining coins carefully to determine their authenticity and condition. Professional graders inspect coins under powerful magnification, checking every detail to ensure that the coin is genuine and not altered or damaged. Once the coin has been evaluated, it is sealed in a protective holder along with a label describing the coin's grade and variety. This grading process is extremely important in the coin market because it allows collectors and buyers to trust that the coin has been authenticated by experts. When a rare coin is officially graded, it often becomes easier to sell at auctions or through coin dealers. Auction sales have played a major role in shaping the reputation of the 1992 close AM penny. When rare examples appear in auctions, collectors from around the world sometimes compete to purchase them. The final sale prices can reach impressive levels depending on the coin's condition and rarity. High-grade examples that retain their original bright red copper color are especially desirable. These coins appear almost as fresh as the day they were struck, with sharp details and minimal signs of wear. Because such well-preserved examples are extremely rare, collectors are often willing to pay significant amounts to add them to their collections. Stories of these sales often circulate widely within the coin collecting community. They inspire new collectors to start searching their own coins and encourage experienced collectors to continue examining every penny they encounter. Another interesting aspect of coin collecting is the sense of history attached to each piece. A penny minted in 1992 has traveled through decades of circulation. It may have been used in grocery stores, vending machines, restaurants, or parking meters. It might have been carried in pockets, dropped on sidewalks, or stored in jars and drawers. Every scratch and mark on a circulated coin tells a story of where it has been. Even though a penny is small and inexpensive, it is still a piece of history that has passed through countless hands over the years. Collectors often enjoy imagining the journey of a coin before it reached their collection. A 1992 penny might have been minted in Philadelphia or Denver, shipped to banks across the country, and then spent years moving from person to person as part of everyday transactions. At some point, it may have ended up forgotten in a coin jar or tucked away in a collection box. Decades later, someone might finally examine it closely and discover that it holds a rare feature that had gone unnoticed for years. This possibility is one of the reasons coin collecting remains such a fascinating hobby. Unlike many other collectibles that must be purchased intentionally, rare coins sometimes appear unexpectedly in everyday life. The idea that valuable treasures could still be hiding in ordinary pocket change captures the imagination of collectors and casual observers alike. It reminds people that even the smallest objects can carry hidden significance. For the 1992 penny, this hidden significance lies in a tiny spacing between two letters. A detail so small that most people would never notice it without careful inspection. Yet that tiny detail has transformed certain coins into prized collectibles that collectors search for with dedication and excitement. Somewhere in the world, another undiscovered 1992 close-am penny may still exist. Perhaps it sits quietly in a jar filled with hundreds of other coins. Perhaps it is tucked inside an old wallet or hidden in a forgotten collection inherited from a relative, and someday, someone might pick up that coin, turn it over, and notice that the letters A and M in America are just a little closer together than they should be. As interest in the 1992 penny continued to spread throughout the coin collecting world, many collectors began to realize that the story of this coin was not just about one tiny spacing difference in a single word. Instead, it represented something much bigger about the nature of coin collecting itself. The hobby has always been about patience, curiosity, and the idea that hidden discoveries can still exist within ordinary objects that people handle every day. Think about how many pennies pass through the hands of people every single day. They appear in cash registers, tip jars, parking meters, vending machines, and pockets. Many people barely look at them before spending them again or tossing them into a jar at home. Because pennies are so common, they often go unnoticed, yet within that enormous sea of coins there can occasionally be something rare hiding in plain sight. For the 1992 penny, collectors learned that identifying the close-am variety required more than just a quick glance. It meant slowing down and examining the reverse side of the coin carefully. When looking at the word America above the Lincoln Memorial, the spacing between the A and the M becomes the most important detail. On a normal penny from that year, there is a noticeable gap between the two letters. On the rare variety, the letters are so close together that they almost appear to touch, but the story does not end there. Experienced collectors also learned to look at another small detail on the reverse side of the coin. Near the base of the Lincoln Memorial, the initials of the designer appear as FG, representing Frank Gasparo, the artist who created the Lincoln Memorial reverse design. On certain rare varieties, the positioning and spacing of these initials can provide additional clues about which die was used to strike the coin. As collectors became more knowledgeable about these details, the search for the 1992 close-am penny became even more exciting. People were no longer just casually glancing at coins. They were carefully studying each detail, comparing coins side by side, and learning the subtle differences that separate ordinary coins from rare varieties. This level of attention to detail is one of the things that makes coin collecting such a fascinating hobby. Unlike many collectibles that rely on large obvious differences, rare coins often require patience and observation. A difference as small as the spacing between two letters can completely change the rarity and value of a coin. As news about the 1992 close-am penny spread, collectors around the world started checking their own collections. Many people who had been saving pennies for years suddenly realized that they might already own coins worth far more than they had ever imagined. Jars of spare change that had been sitting on shelves for decades suddenly became objects of curiosity. Some collectors described the experience as a kind of treasure hunt that could take place right at home. Instead of searching for buried treasure in distant places, they were searching through everyday coins that had been hiding in plain sight all along. Occasionally, someone would report finding a rare coin after examining thousands of pennies. These discoveries were often shared online or in coin collecting communities, where other collectors would celebrate the find and discuss the details of the coin. Each new discovery added another chapter to the ongoing story of the 1992 penny. At the same time, professional coin dealers and auction houses began paying closer attention to these varieties. When one of the rare coins appeared on the market, it often attracted serious interest from collectors who wanted to add it to their collections. Auctions sometimes turned into intense competitions as bidders attempted to secure one of the few known examples. The prices paid for these coins could vary depending on several factors. Condition was one of the most important. A coin that had circulated for many years might show wear, scratches, or discoloration. While it could still be valuable if it was a rare variety, collectors generally prefer coins that remain in excellent condition. A coin that has been preserved carefully, retaining its original red copper color and sharp design details, can command much higher prices in the collector market. These coins are sometimes described as red uncirculated examples, and they are especially prized because they look almost exactly as they did when they left the mint decades ago. Another factor that affects value is certification by professional grading services. When a coin is officially graded and authenticated, buyers feel more confident about purchasing it. This trust often leads to higher prices at auctions and private sales. Because the 1992 Close AM penny is so rare, each certified example becomes an important part of the coin collecting record. Collectors track these coins carefully, noting their grades and sales history. Over time, this information helps establish a clearer picture of how rare the variety truly is. Despite the excitement surrounding these rare coins, the vast majority of 1992 pennies remain common and worth only their face value. This contrast between ordinary coins and rare varieties is part of what makes the hobby so interesting. Most coins are everyday objects, but occasionally one stands out as something special. This idea has fascinated collectors for generations. Throughout history, there have been many examples of coins that were once considered ordinary but later became valuable due to rare minting errors or limited production numbers. The 1992 Close AM penny is simply one modern example of this long tradition. For new collectors, the story of this coin often serves as an introduction to the broader world of numismatics, the study and collection of coins. It shows how small details can reveal hidden history and how careful observation can lead to surprising discoveries. Many collectors say that once you start examining coins closely, you begin to see them differently. Instead of viewing them as simple currency, you start to notice the artwork, the dates, the mint marks, and the tiny details that distinguish one coin from another. The 1992 penny, with its subtle Close AM variety, encourages collectors to slow down and appreciate those details. It reminds us that even the smallest differences can matter, and perhaps somewhere right now, another collector is sitting at a table with a small magnifying glass, carefully examining a pile of pennies, hoping that the next coin they pick up will reveal the rare spacing that turns an ordinary cent into something extraordinary. Because in the world of coin collecting, sometimes the smallest discovery can create the biggest excitement. The deeper collectors looked into the story of the 1992 penny, the more it began to feel like a modern treasure hunt hidden inside everyday life. What makes this coin especially fascinating is that it proves valuable discoveries do not always require traveling across the world or digging into ancient ruins. Sometimes they can appear inside something as ordinary as a small jar of loose change sitting quietly on a kitchen counter. Imagine someone deciding one evening to sort through a jar filled with hundreds of pennies collected over many years. At first, the task might seem simple and even boring. One coin after another passes through their fingers. Some are shiny, some are dark with age, and many show scratches and marks from years of circulation. Most people would quickly assume that every coin in that jar is worth only 1 cent, but for someone who knows about the rare varieties of the 1992 penny, the process becomes much more exciting. Each coin is turned over slowly, the date checked carefully, and when a 1992 penny appears, the collector pauses for a moment. The coin is flipped to the reverse side, and the word America is examined closely. The letters A and M become the most important part of the search. Is there a small space between them, or are they nearly touching? That tiny difference could determine whether the coin is ordinary or extremely rare. Many collectors describe this moment as the most thrilling part of coin hunting. For a brief second, there is a feeling of suspense. The possibility exists that the coin in their hand might be something special. Most of the time, the answer is no. The letters appear with the normal wide spacing that identifies a common penny. The coin is placed aside, and the search continues. Another penny is picked up, another date is checked, and the process repeats again and again, but the excitement never completely disappears because every new coin carries the same possibility. Somewhere in the pile there could be a rare variety waiting to be discovered. Stories occasionally emerge from collectors who experienced that unforgettable moment when they realized they had actually found one of the rare coins. At first, they may notice that something looks slightly unusual. The spacing between the letters appears different from the others they have seen. They compare the coin with another penny from the same year. The difference becomes clearer. On the rare coin, the letters A and M almost touch, while on the normal coin, the gap between them is easy to see. At that moment, the collector may feel a rush of excitement. The coin that looked ordinary just seconds earlier suddenly becomes extremely important. The next step is usually to examine the coin more carefully under magnification to confirm that the spacing is truly the rare *am design. If the collector believes the coin might be genuine, they often take photographs and share them with experienced numismatists or online coin communities. These communities are filled with knowledgeable collectors who enjoy helping identify rare coins and verifying discoveries. Sometimes the coin turns out to be exactly what the collector hoped for. When experts confirm that the coin is indeed a genuine 1992 *am penny, the excitement can be overwhelming. The discovery becomes a memorable moment that the collector will likely remember for the rest of their life. After confirmation, the next step is usually professional grading. The coin is carefully packaged and sent to a grading service where specialists examine it under powerful magnification. They check the spacing of the letters, the surface condition, and other important details to verify that the coin is authentic. Once the grading process is complete, the coin is sealed in a protective holder with a label showing its grade and variety. At that point, the coin officially becomes part of the recognized population of rare 1992 *am pennies. Collectors often face an important decision after receiving their graded coin. Some choose to keep it as a prized part of their personal collection. Others decide to sell the coin through auctions or dealers where collectors compete to purchase rare pieces. Auction sales of rare coins can sometimes be dramatic events. Collectors from around the world may participate in bidding, each hoping to secure the coin for their collection. As bids increase, the value of the coin can climb far beyond its original face value. It is remarkable to think that a coin originally worth only 1 cent could eventually sell for thousands of dollars simply because of a tiny design difference that most people would never notice. This transformation from ordinary coin to valuable collectible is one of the reasons the story of the 1992 penny continues to capture people's attention. It represents the idea that rarity and value can sometimes hide in unexpected places. For many collectors, the real reward is not just the potential financial value but also the thrill of the search itself. The process of examining coins, learning about minting history, and discovering unusual varieties becomes an enjoyable hobby that connects people with history and craftsmanship. Each coin is a small piece of history. The 1992 penny was produced during a time when billions of coins were being minted every year to support the economy. Most of those coins carried the standard design and served their purpose quietly in everyday transactions, but a few of them carried a small difference created by a moment in the minting process when a die from another design year was used. That small difference created a rarity that collectors would eventually discover years later. Today, the search for these coins continues. Even though many collectors have already examined millions of pennies, the possibility still exists that more undiscovered examples could be hiding somewhere. Perhaps a forgotten coin collection stored in an attic contains one of these rare coins. Perhaps a jar of pennies sitting in a drawer includes a coin that has never been examined closely. The thought that valuable discoveries might still be waiting keeps collectors interested and curious. It encourages people to look more carefully at the coins they encounter every day. The 1992 penny reminds us that sometimes the most fascinating stories are hidden in the smallest objects. A simple 1-cent coin, something many people barely notice, can become a subject of mystery, excitement, and discovery. And somewhere, in a pile of ordinary pennies, another collector might be only one coin away from finding a rare piece of history. The story of the 1992 penny becomes even more fascinating when we begin to think about how many coins are produced every single year and how easily a rare variety can pass unnoticed through everyday life. Billions of pennies were minted in the early 1990s, and most of them traveled across the country through banks, stores, and cash registers without anyone paying close attention to the tiny details of their design. To the average person, a penny was simply a penny, something to spend quickly or toss into a jar, but collectors have always looked at coins differently. Where others see ordinary change, collectors see history, craftsmanship, and sometimes hidden rarity. The 1992 penny represents a perfect example of this difference in perspective. On the surface it appears completely ordinary, yet within a very small number of those coins lies a feature that makes them incredibly special to collectors. The excitement surrounding the rare *am variety is not just about the spacing between two letters. It also reflects the incredible journey a coin takes from the moment it is created. When the coin leaves the mint, it begins traveling through the economy, passing from one person to another, sometimes thousands of times over many years. Each transaction adds another chapter to the story of that coin. Imagine a penny struck at the mint in 1992. The moment it leaves the coining press, it joins thousands of other coins being packaged and shipped to banks across the country. From there it enters circulation, perhaps given as change in a grocery store or dropped into a vending machine. Over time, it might pass through the hands of students, workers, travelers, and families. At some point, the coin might end up inside a piggy bank or a jar of loose change. Years could pass without anyone looking closely at it. Eventually, someone might decide to sort through the coins and notice the date. That moment could begin a journey of discovery that transforms the coin from an unnoticed piece of pocket change into something far more interesting. Collectors often say that the most exciting part of coin collecting is the possibility that rare coins are still out there waiting to be found. Unlike many collectibles that must be purchased from dealers or auctions, coins can sometimes appear in the most unexpected places. People have reported discovering valuable coins in old coin jars, inherited collections, bankrolls, and even in the change received from everyday purchases. Each discovery reminds collectors that the search is never truly finished. For the 1992 close AM penny, this possibility continues to inspire collectors to examine their coins carefully. Even though many examples have already been discovered, experts believe that a few may still remain hidden in circulation or in forgotten collections. The value of these coins also depends heavily on their condition. A coin that has spent many years in circulation may show scratches, dull color, and worn design details. While such a coin could still be rare, collectors usually place higher value on coins that appear well preserved. Coins that remain bright and sharp are often described as uncirculated or mint state. These coins show little or no wear and may still display the original red copper color that they had when they were first struck. Because it is difficult for a coin to remain in such excellent condition after decades, high-grade examples are extremely desirable to collectors. Professional grading companies help determine the exact condition of rare coins. These companies employ trained experts who carefully examine coins under magnification. They evaluate factors such as surface quality, luster, strike sharpness, and the presence of marks or scratches. After the examination is complete, the coin receives a grade based on an established scale. This grade helps collectors understand how well preserved the coin is compared to others of the same type. The coin is then sealed in a protective holder that prevents damage and clearly displays the grading information. When a rare coin like the 1992 close AM penny receives a high grade from a respected grading company, its value in the market can increase significantly. Collectors are often willing to pay more for coins that have been professionally authenticated and graded because it provides confidence that the coin is genuine. Auction houses sometimes feature these rare pennies in specialized coin auctions where collectors compete to acquire them. During these auctions, bidders from different parts of the world may participate, each hoping to add the coin to their collection. The bidding process can become very competitive, especially when the coin being offered is one of the finest known examples. As bids increase, the final sale price can reach impressive levels compared to the coin's original face value of just 1 cent. This dramatic increase in value is one of the reasons stories about rare pennies often capture public attention. People are fascinated by the idea that something so small and inexpensive could eventually become worth thousands of dollars. However, experienced collectors also emphasize that rarity and value are determined by careful study and verification. Not every unusual-looking coin is valuable, and accurate identification is essential before assuming that a coin is rare. For this reason, collectors often compare coins carefully with known examples and rely on expert opinions when evaluating potential discoveries. This careful approach helps maintain accuracy within the hobby and ensures that truly rare coins receive the recognition they deserve. The story of the 1992 penny also highlights the importance of small details in the world of numismatics. A difference as tiny as the spacing between two letters might seem insignificant at first glance, yet that detail can transform a common coin into a highly sought-after collectible. Collectors develop the ability to notice these details through years of experience and observation. Over time, they learn to recognize different mint marks, design variations, and production errors that might otherwise go unnoticed. For many people, the process of learning these details becomes just as enjoyable as the possibility of finding a valuable coin. The hobby encourages curiosity, patience, and a deeper appreciation for the objects we use in everyday life. Even today, decades after the 1992 pennies were minted, collectors continue searching for the rare close AM variety. The hunt continues in homes, coin shops, bankrolls, and collections around the world. Somewhere there may still be a penny waiting quietly to be examined. It might look just like every other coin at first glance, but under careful observation it could reveal the tiny spacing that makes it special, and if someone discovers that coin, they will become part of the ongoing story of the 1992 penny, a story that reminds us that even the smallest pieces of everyday life can hold extraordinary secrets. The journey of the 1992 penny becomes even more interesting when we think about how coins slowly disappear from everyday circulation and quietly move into the world of collectors. Over time, many coins are lost, damaged, melted, or simply forgotten in drawers and containers. This gradual disappearance means that even coins that were once extremely common can become harder to find in excellent condition as the years pass. For the 1992 penny, this process has been happening for more than 3 decades. Since the day those coins were first struck at the mint, they have been traveling through countless transactions. Some have spent years inside vending machines, some have rolled across store counters, and others have been dropped into charity boxes or parking meters. Every coin has its own story of movement through everyday life. Collectors often imagine these journeys when they examine coins. A single penny might have traveled across multiple states, passed through the hands of hundreds of people, and survived decades of use before eventually landing in a coin jar or collection. That long journey gives each coin a quiet historical significance, even if most people never think about it. But the rare Close AM variety from 1992 carries an even more intriguing story. Because so few of these coins were produced, each one that survives today represents a tiny piece of minting history. At some moment during the minting process, a die with a slightly different letter spacing was installed in a coining press. For a brief period, coins were struck with that unusual design before the die was replaced. Those coins were mixed together with millions of ordinary pennies and sent into circulation without any special markings to identify them. No one at the time realized that a rare variety had just been created. The coins simply entered the economy and began their normal journey through everyday transactions. Years later, collectors began discovering that something unusual existed among the pennies from that year. When they compared coins carefully, the Close AM spacing stood out as a clear and consistent difference. Slowly, the variety gained recognition within the numismatic community, and collectors began searching for it with growing enthusiasm. The excitement of the search often brings together collectors from different backgrounds and locations. Some people begin collecting coins as children after finding an interesting coin in their change. Others develop an interest later in life after inheriting a collection from a family member. Regardless of how they start, many collectors eventually discover the fascinating world of coin varieties and mint errors. The 1992 Close AM penny has become one of those varieties that collectors love to talk about. It appears frequently in discussions about modern coins that might still be hiding in circulation. Whenever someone asks which pennies are worth checking carefully, the 1992 Close AM variety is almost always mentioned. This attention has encouraged many people to examine their coins more closely. Some collectors visit banks to obtain rolls of pennies that they can search through at home. A single box from a bank can contain thousands of coins, providing hours of careful examination for anyone hoping to find something unusual. The process requires patience and focus. Each coin must be checked for the correct date, then turned over to inspect the reverse design. Under normal lighting, the letters might appear ordinary, but under magnification the spacing becomes easier to evaluate. Collectors often use small magnifying tools called loupes that provide a clearer view of the coin's surface. With practice, they learn to recognize the difference between the normal wide AM spacing and the rare Close AM design. After examining many coins, their eyes become trained to notice even the smallest variations. Occasionally, someone experiences the incredible moment when a coin appears different from the others. The letters seem unusually close together, and the collector pauses to examine the coin more carefully. They compare it with another 1992 penny, confirming that the spacing is indeed different. At that moment, the search transforms into something unforgettable. The coin in their hand might be one of the rare varieties they have been hoping to find. Collectors often describe this moment as one of the greatest thrills in the hobby. It is not just about potential value, but also about the excitement of discovery. Finding a rare coin after searching through thousands of ordinary ones creates a sense of accomplishment and surprise. Once a potential discovery is made, careful verification becomes important. The coin is examined under stronger magnification, photographed, and sometimes compared with known examples documented by experts. Experienced collectors understand that accurate identification is essential before celebrating a rare find. If the coin passes these tests, it may be sent to a professional grading service where experts can confirm its authenticity. The coin is carefully evaluated and then sealed in a protective holder with an official label describing the variety and grade. For the collector who found the coin, this moment represents the final confirmation that their discovery is real. A coin that once seemed ordinary has now become an authenticated piece of numismatic history. Some collectors choose to keep such coins as treasured parts of their collections. Others decide to sell them through auctions or coin dealers, where collectors compete to acquire rare pieces. In either case, the coin becomes part of the documented record of known examples. The story of the 1992 close AM penny continues to inspire collectors because it demonstrates that discoveries are still possible. Even in modern times, when coins are produced with advanced technology and strict quality control, small variations can still appear and remain unnoticed for years. This possibility keeps the spirit of exploration alive in the coin collecting community. Every coin that passes through someone's hands might carry a hidden detail waiting to be noticed, and that idea that an extraordinary discovery could be hiding inside something as ordinary as a penny is what keeps collectors searching, learning, and sharing their discoveries with others. As the search for rare pennies continues across the world, the legend of the 1992 close AM penny grows stronger with each passing year. Many collectors say that one of the most fascinating things about coin collecting is the realization that valuable discoveries are not limited to ancient artifacts or rare museum pieces. Sometimes they are hidden within the very coins that people use every day without thinking twice about them. The idea that a tiny 1-cent coin could hold unexpected value captures the imagination of collectors and beginners alike. A penny is one of the smallest units of currency, something so common that many people overlook it completely. Yet the history behind the penny stretches back more than a century, connecting generations through the simple act of everyday transactions. By the time the 1992 pennies were produced, the Lincoln cent had already been part of American currency for over 80 years. During that time, the design had become one of the most recognizable images in the country. Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the front had been seen by billions of people, while the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse represented a symbol of national history and remembrance. When those coins were struck in 1992, the mint workers involved in their production were simply doing their jobs, producing the enormous number of coins required for daily commerce. The presses worked continuously, stamping blank planchettes with the designs that would soon appear in pockets, purses, and cash registers. No one at the time could have predicted that a tiny design difference would later turn a few of those coins into objects of intense interest for collectors. The coins left the mint exactly like all the others, packed into containers and shipped to banks where they would begin their long journey through circulation. Over the years, those pennies spread across cities, towns, and rural communities. Some of them passed quickly from one person to another, while others spent long periods sitting quietly in jars or drawers. Some were saved by collectors simply because they liked the design or the date. The rare close AM examples traveled along the same paths as the ordinary pennies. They were mixed together with millions of other coins, indistinguishable at first glance. The difference between them was so small that it remained unnoticed for years. Eventually, as collectors studied the coins more closely, the variety was discovered. Once the discovery was announced, it quickly captured the attention of the numismatic community. Articles were written explaining how to identify the rare spacing between the letters A and M and the word America. Collectors began examining their pennies carefully, comparing coins side by side. Some people discovered that coins they had owned for years were actually rare varieties they had never noticed before. These discoveries created excitement throughout the hobby. Each new confirmed example helped researchers understand how many of the rare coins might exist. Because the number appeared to be extremely small, the demand for these coins increased among collectors. Coin shows, online auctions, and collector forums began discussing the 1992 close AM penny regularly. Experienced collectors shared tips for identifying the variety and advised beginners to check their coins carefully. For many new collectors, this penny became an introduction to the fascinating world of coin varieties and minting errors. It demonstrated that even modern coins could contain hidden surprises that only careful observation could reveal. Some collectors even made the search for rare pennies a regular hobby activity. They visited banks to obtain rolls of coins, which they brought home and examined under bright lights and magnification. Each roll contained dozens of pennies, and each penny represented another chance to find something unusual. The process could take hours, but many collectors enjoyed the quiet concentration it required. The simple act of examining coins became a relaxing activity, almost like solving a puzzle. Most of the time the search revealed only ordinary coins, but occasionally someone would notice a detail that looked different. The spacing of the letters might appear unusually close, prompting the collector to take a closer look. Those moments of discovery are what keep collectors motivated. The possibility of finding something rare adds excitement to every search. Beyond the thrill of discovery, the story of the 1992 penny also highlights the importance of historical preservation. Coins are more than just currency, they are small pieces of history that reflect the time in which they were created, the materials used, the designs chosen, and the production methods all tell a story about the era in which the coins were made. By studying coins carefully, collectors and historians can learn about changes in technology, economics, and artistic design. The 1992 penny, with its rare close AM variety, is a reminder that history can sometimes reveal itself in the smallest details. A tiny difference in the spacing of two letters has created a lasting mystery that collectors continue to explore decades later. Even today, people continue checking their coins with curiosity. A simple handful of pennies might include coins from many different years, each with its own story. Among them could be a rare variety waiting quietly to be recognized. The excitement of that possibility keeps the search alive. Every coin examined is another step in the ongoing story of discovery, and somewhere, perhaps in a jar of forgotten change or a roll of coins from a bank, another 1992 close AM penny might still be waiting to be found, ready to surprise the person who finally takes the time to look closely. Imagine holding a small copper-colored coin between your fingers, a coin so common that millions of people around the world barely give it a second glance. It is the United States 1-cent coin, often simply called the penny. The year stamped onto this coin reads 1992, and at first glance it seems like nothing more than loose change worth a single cent. But collectors know that sometimes ordinary coins hide extraordinary stories, mysteries, and in rare cases, values that reach into astonishing numbers. Some rumors, collector discussions, and auction legends even talk about rare pennies connected with the 1992 year that could be worth life-changing money, sometimes exaggerated in stories up to tens of millions of dollars. Whether those numbers are myth, speculation, or the result of misunderstanding, the truth is that the 1992 1-cent coin has become one of the most fascinating pieces for modern coin collectors to study. To truly understand the value and importance of the 1992 penny, we have to travel back through history, into the long story of the United States 1-cent coin itself. The penny has been part of American life for more than 2 centuries. The first official 1-cent coins were struck in 1793, and since that time the coin has evolved through many designs, materials, and historical eras. Each change reflected something about the country at that moment in history. Wars, economic crises, metal shortages, artistic trends, and political symbolism all influenced the design of the humble penny. By the early 20th century, the United States Mint decided to place a real historical figure on the 1-cent coin for the first time. In 1909, the penny design was changed to honor Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. Lincoln was chosen because 1909 marked the 100th anniversary of his birth. The sculptor Victor David Brenner created the famous portrait that still appears on the penny today. It shows Lincoln in profile facing right, with fine lines forming his beard, hair, and thoughtful expression. This design was revolutionary at the time because earlier American coins usually displayed symbolic figures such as Lady Liberty rather than real people. The Lincoln penny therefore became the first regular circulating U.S. coin to show an actual historical figure. Over the decades the design has remained largely unchanged, though the reverse side of the coin has been updated several times. From 1909 until 1958, the back of the Lincoln penny displayed 2 wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. Because of those wheat stalks, collectors refer to these coins as wheat pennies. In 1959, to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the reverse design was changed to the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. This design remained on pennies until 2008. That means the 1992 penny belongs to the Lincoln Memorial series, one of the longest-running coin designs in American history. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial Building is depicted in the center. If you look closely with magnification, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial between the columns. This level of detail on such a small coin demonstrates the skill of the engravers who created the design. The inscriptions on the coin are important as well. On the front, the word Liberty appears to the left of Lincoln's portrait, while the year 1992 appears on the right side. Above Lincoln's head is the national motto, "In God We Trust." These words have been part of American coinage for many decades and reflect the historical traditions of the country. Turning the coin over, you see the Lincoln Memorial in the center. Above the memorial appear the words United States of America. Just below that is the motto E pluribus unum, a Latin phrase meaning out of many, one. Beneath the memorial is the denomination 1 cent. All of these elements together form a balanced and recognizable design that Americans have used for generations. The symbol of the coin, of course, is closely tied to Abraham Lincoln himself. Lincoln is remembered as the president who led the United States during the Civil War and issued the Emancipation Proclamation that declared enslaved people free in Confederate states. His image on the penny therefore symbolizes unity, perseverance, and the ideals of freedom and equality. Now let's look at the technical details of the 1992 penny. One of the most important factors for collectors is the weight of the coin. Since 1982, most U.S. pennies have been made primarily from zinc rather than solid copper. Rising copper prices forced the U.S. Mint to change the composition of the coin. Modern pennies are therefore made of 97.5% zinc with a thin outer plating of 2.5% copper. Because of this composition, the weight of a typical 1992 penny is approximately 2.5 grams. The diameter of the coin is about 19.05 millimeters, and the thickness is about 1.52 millimeters. The edge of the coin is plain, meaning it does not have ridges like a quarter or dime. The coins were produced at several different mint facilities. In 1992, pennies were struck at the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. Coins from Philadelphia usually have no mint mark, while coins from Denver carry a small D beneath the date on the obverse side. Millions and millions of pennies were produced in 1992. In fact, the mintage numbers were extremely high. Over 4.6 billion pennies were minted in Philadelphia that year, and more than 4.4 billion were produced in Denver. With such enormous numbers, most 1992 pennies are extremely common and worth only their face value of 1 cent. However, the world of coin collecting is filled with surprising exceptions. Sometimes tiny variations or minting errors can turn an ordinary coin into a rare treasure. Collectors carefully examine coins under magnification looking for differences in letters, spacing, alignment, and other small details. One of the most famous varieties connected with the 1992 penny is the close AM variety. To understand this, we have to look closely at the reverse side of the coin. On the Lincoln Memorial design, the words United States of America appear at the top. At the end of the word America, the letters A and M usually have a noticeable space between them, but on some extremely rare 1992 pennies, those two letters appear much closer together than usual. This is known among collectors as the close AM variety. It occurred because a reverse die intended for proof coins was accidentally used to strike some regular circulation coins. Proof coins are special high-quality coins made for collectors rather than circulation. They are usually struck with specially prepared dies that create sharper details and slightly different spacing between letters. When one of those proof dies ended up being used on regular pennies, it created the unusual close AM variety. Only a small number of these coins have been discovered, making them highly valuable to collectors. Some examples of the 1992 close AM penny have sold for thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars depending on their condition. The value of a rare coin depends heavily on its condition. Coin collectors use a grading scale that ranges from poor to mint state. A coin that has circulated for many years will show wear, scratches, and fading of details. Such coins are usually worth only a small premium, but a coin that remains in nearly perfect condition, with sharp details and original mint luster, can be worth dramatically more. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC examine coins carefully and assign them a grade that helps determine their value in the market. If, for example, an ordinary 1992 penny in circulated condition might be worth exactly 1 cent. A well-preserved uncirculated coin might be worth a few cents or perhaps $1 or $2 to a collector who wants a high-quality example. However, a rare variety such as the 1992 close AM penny can be worth thousands of dollars if authenticated and graded. Some high-grade specimens have sold for more than $20,000 at auction. Stories sometimes circulate online claiming that certain pennies are worth millions or even tens of millions of dollars. These claims often exaggerate the real market values. While there are indeed coins that have sold for millions, such cases usually involve extremely rare historical coins like the 1933 Double Eagle gold coin or the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar. As the journey of understanding the 1992 1-cent coin comes toward its final chapter, it becomes clear that this tiny copper-colored piece of metal carries far more significance than its face value suggests. For many people, a penny is something that ends up forgotten in jars, dropped into drawers, or left behind at store counters because it seems almost worthless. Yet for collectors, historians, and treasure hunters of everyday currency, even a single penny can hold a story filled with history, design, mystery, and sometimes extraordinary value. By the time 1992 arrived, the United States 1-cent coin had already existed for nearly 200 years. Over those centuries, the penny had transformed from large copper coins in the late 1700s to the smaller Lincoln pennies familiar today. The Lincoln portrait introduced in 1909 had already survived world wars, economic depressions, technological revolutions, and enormous changes in American society. When someone held a 1992 penny in their hand, they were actually touching a design tradition that had been circulating for more than 80 years at that point. The portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front remained one of the most recognizable images in American currency. Lincoln's calm expression, his distinctive beard, and the carefully sculpted profile gave the coin a sense of dignity even though its value was only 1 cent. Around the portrait were the familiar inscriptions that had become part of the identity of the coin. Above Lincoln's head were the words, "In God We Trust," a phrase that had appeared on American coins since the 19th century. To the left of the portrait stood the word liberty, symbolizing the ideals upon which the nation was built. On the right side appeared the year of minting, 1992, quietly marking the moment in history when that particular coin was produced. Turning the coin over revealed the Lincoln Memorial, one of the most famous monuments in Washington, D.C. The memorial itself honors the same president whose portrait appears on the front, creating a rare situation where both sides of a coin represent the same historical figure. If a person looks closely with magnification, the small statue of Lincoln sitting inside the memorial can actually be seen between the columns. This tiny detail amazed many collectors because it demonstrated the incredible precision required to engrave such small features into a coin die. The inscriptions on the reverse side reinforced the national identity of the coin. The phrase "United States of America" appeared above the memorial, clearly stating the issuing country. Beneath that inscription was the Latin motto "E pluribus unum," meaning "out of many, one." This phrase reflects the idea that the United States was formed by many states and many people joining together as one nation. At the bottom of the design appeared the denomination 1 cent, reminding everyone that despite its beauty and symbolism, the coin was still the smallest unit of American currency. Technically speaking, the 1992 penny was part of the modern era of coin production. Since 1982, the composition of the penny had changed from mostly copper to mostly zinc. Rising copper prices had forced the United States Mint to adjust the metal mixture in order to keep production costs manageable. As a result, the 1992 penny contained about 97.5% zinc with a thin outer coating of copper. This gave the coin its familiar copper color even though the interior metal was different from earlier pennies. The weight of the coin reflected this modern composition. A standard 1992 penny weighs approximately 2.5 grams. Its diameter measures about 19.05 millimeters, and the thickness is roughly 1.52 millimeters. The edge is smooth and plain, unlike the ridged edges found on coins like the quarter or dime. These specifications may seem like small technical details, but they are extremely important for collectors who verify authenticity and identify unusual variations. The coins were produced at 2 major United States Mint facilities during 1992. The Philadelphia Mint struck billions of pennies without a mint mark, while the Denver Mint produced coins marked with a small letter D beneath the date. Together, these two mints produced more than 9 billion pennies in that single year. Because the number was so enormous, the vast majority of 1992 pennies are still extremely common today, yet the story becomes far more interesting when collectors begin examining the small details that distinguish rare varieties from ordinary coins. One of the most famous discoveries connected with the 1992 penny involves the spacing of the letters A and M and the word America on the reverse side. On most Lincoln Memorial pennies, these two letters are separated by a noticeable gap. But on a few extremely rare examples from 1992, the letters appear much closer together. This is what collectors call the close AM variety. The origin of this variety is believed to involve a mix-up with coin dies. Proof coins, which are specially made for collectors, use dies that often have slightly different design spacing compared to regular circulation coins. Somehow, a reverse die intended for proof pennies ended up being used to strike a small number of regular circulation coins. As a result, the unusual close AM spacing appeared on coins that were released into everyday circulation. Because the number of these coins is believed to be very small, collectors became extremely interested in finding them. Many people searched through rolls of pennies from banks, carefully examining the reverse side of each coin under magnification. Occasionally, someone would discover a genuine close AM penny, turning an ordinary 1-cent coin into a highly valuable collectible. The value of such a coin depends heavily on its condition. In coin collecting, Condition is measured using a grading scale that ranges from heavily worn coins to perfect mint state specimens. A coin that has circulated for decades may have scratches, fading details, and worn surfaces. Such coins usually bring lower prices, however. A coin that remains in excellent condition, with sharp details and original mint shine, can be dramatically more valuable. Some authenticated examples of the 1992 Close AM penny have sold for thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars at auctions. These sales demonstrate how a tiny difference in design spacing can transform a coin's value. Stories sometimes circulate online claiming that certain pennies are worth enormous amounts, such as millions of dollars. These stories often exaggerate or misunderstand the true market values. While rare coins can indeed sell for very high prices, a value such as $34 million for a 1992 penny would be far beyond any known verified sale. Even the most famous coins in the world rarely reach such figures. However, the excitement created by these stories encourages people to look more carefully at the coins in their pockets. Coin collecting has always involved a sense of treasure hunting. Every handful of change has the potential to hide something unusual. Most of the time the coins are ordinary, but once in a while someone discovers a rare variety or error that changes everything. The hobby of searching through circulating coins is known as coin roll hunting. Enthusiasts obtain rolls of coins from banks and carefully inspect each one for unusual features. They check dates, mint marks, letter spacing, and signs of minting errors. The process requires patience and attention to detail, but it can also be extremely rewarding. Minting errors themselves form another fascinating part of the story. During the coin production process, mistakes can occur when the planchet, die, or striking process does not function perfectly. These errors can produce off-center coins, doubled images, die cracks, clipped edges, or other unusual features. Because they are accidental and often rare, collectors find them highly interesting. While the 1992 penny is best known for the Close AM variety, collectors also examine coins from that year for other possible errors. Even a small irregularity can sometimes attract attention in the numismatic community. Over time, as more coins are studied and documented, new varieties may occasionally be identified. The world of coin collecting continues to evolve as technology improves. Digital microscopes, online databases, and global collector communities allow people to share discoveries instantly.